President Trump tells us that the war will be over soon. Will it? Do you think it'll be over soon? Well, let's take a look at this big picture. The big picture is that President Trump wanted to achieve regime change, and in a sense, he did. He removed Ayatollah Khamenei, and he got Ayatollah Khamenei. So, he removed the father and now he's dealing with the son. The son who apparently is more hardline than the father. And also, Ayatollah Khomeini, now he has his not only his father to mourn, he has many other family members who were killed in that initial strike on the compound of the supreme leader. So President Trump has hit the hornet's nest, and apparently he thinks that all he has to do is carry out a little bit more of an aerial campaign and that'll be done. But he forgot that he has continued to hit the hornet's nest. He also, through the U.S. forces, bombed a girls' elementary school. They have the image of the Tomahawk missile falling directly on top of the elementary school. So this was no accident. This was targeted. So you can call it the murder of these innocent schoolgirls and their teachers is directly blood on the hands of President Trump. And so now that President Trump has whacked the hornet's nest, he thinks that all he has to do is to walk away and the hornets will come out and fly around. Eventually they'll go back in their nest and everything will be okay. But that is not the situation, unfortunately, for President Trump. He can't just walk away. Plus, he's left a huge ecological disaster. If he is to walk away now and to remove the troops, that wouldn't necessarily mean that the Strait of Hormuz would be open, because this war isn't over. And Iran already said the war isn't over until they say it is, until they decide it is. They were attacked. Their cities were bombed. Innocent civilians were murdered, and they will get revenge, and they will tell you when it is over. So, and if President Trump was to leave now, and with the interceptors running out in the Gulf states and in possibly in Israel, who knows what kind of stockpile they have, but the Gulf states seem to be running out. They will run out, and then and Iran will have a direct path to their infrastructure. So this could go very south for the Gulf states, for the oil economy, for inflation, for prices. And so this is not looking very good for President Trump. So where does he get the idea that he's just going to be able to walk away from this? So apparently he's going to up the escalation with the aerial campaign, and somehow he thinks that the people that he has bombed and the children who he has killed, that their parents will rise up and demand the removal of the Ayatollah. Well, that's dreamland, because that's not going to happen. The president now is in kind of a pickle. If he walks away, he will leave the Gulf nations and Israel to bear the brunt of the retribution from Iran. And if he stays there, there's only so much he can do from the air. And if he wants to effect regime change, he's going to need to put boots on the ground, something which will be very unpopular. But at this point, it looks rather possible for the United States to do kind of a draft to get an army of 1 or 2 million soldiers to go invade Iran again, to achieve what? He doesn't seem to know. I guess he wants to follow the whole Iraq pattern, but he forgot to prepare the American people for this, and he forgot to carry out the steps needed to for the ground campaign, if he's going to go with a draft, he still needs to get those young men to the basic training to get them ready before they can even step foot on the battlefield. And if the Iranians have their defenses well laid out, they may put a huge hurt on the invading force, and so that invasion could end right before the new troops could arrive to supplement or to replace those who initially went in. So this is all looking very bad for President Trump. He looks bewildered. He looks tired. He looks angry. He's angry at the Iranians for not bowing down to him, for not accepting an unconditional surrender. Of course, the Iranians, especially the Ayatollah, knows what happened to Libya, what happened to Muammar Gaddafi, what happened in Iraq. He doesn't need any reminders of the generosity of U.S. foreign policy and foreign countries. So he knows that this was a fight to the death from the beginning. This is an existential fight, and he's not going anywhere, and he's not going to stop until he declares victory. So if the Ayatollah was to declare victory, this would be the worst thing to happen to the Trump presidency, and President Trump doesn't want that. So he can string people along with false hopes for a while, but eventually people will start asking questions. Even the most hardened supporters, those who say, we're going to win the war and we're going to win the peace and all this stuff they said during the Iraq War. So, and even the Iraq War, they did a quick ground campaign, but then after that the insurgency began. And many people can say, well, that's the Iranian forces came in and killed all the American soldiers. No, those were the Baathists. That was the military. President Bush had them all fired and removed, and he tried to create his own military, his own police force, his own political party. So the Baathists and the political party leading Iraq at the time was Saddam Hussein, and the military who didn't have anything to do, they became insurgent fighters, and they were the ones who killed the Americans. So you would get a situation far worse if the country was to fall. So where is President Trump going to go? Anyway, I don't see an easy way out for President Trump, but I think the way out is if oil gets to $200 or $250 a barrel and the economies begin to collapse, the world leaders will begin to beg President Trump to stop this insanity, to get out, whatever he has to do to accept some kind of negotiated settlement. But until that happens, I don't see President Trump leaving, and I certainly don't see the Iranians giving up. So with that, I'll conclude this video. Is the war going to end soon? No. If you have a hope that it's going to end soon, that's a false hope. And don't listen to the administration. They're just going to string you along. Really, under what pretense could he end this conflict now? He's already struck the hornet's nest. The hornets are going to come out. They haven't come out yet. They haven't even started with their better rockets and their better drones. They've been emptying their inventory with all the old stuff and using up all the interceptors. Once the interceptors are gone, they're going to bring out the big stuff and they're going to start doing some real damage. So where is this conflict going to go? I don't see it ending anytime soon. So anyway, with that, I will end this video. Do you think this conflict will end soon? If you do, please leave a comment below. I look forward to hearing from you. And this is the Rowell Report. If you like this video, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. And I will see you back for the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.